This is the death of Gwen Stacy. This culminates 121 and 122. It starts, and Harry is really just going through a rough time. He is relapsing on drugs, and he is currently bedridden in his house, getting helped by a doctor that is friends of the Osborn family. And you have Peter, Gwen, and Mary Jane are all there just to watch over him and make sure he's good, because he's their best friends. And in doing so, Norman Osborn pulls up and he gets real mad. He's like, "What the heck are you guys doing here?" You know, he's like this because you are a bad influence on him. And obviously, this isn't the normal Osborn we know that cares for his son. That is because in issue 49 and 50, Peter fights Norman Osborn. And that in 49, he learns that Peter is Spider-Man. And in 50, Peter fights Norman Osborn. And at the very end of that issue, Norman loses his memories of A, Peter being Spider-Man, and B, being Green Goblin. So up until this point, he doesn't really know why he has an animosity towards Peter, but he does. And he just can't remember what the reasoning is. And so that's the reason he kicks him out, because I think he just blames Peter, not really knowing why, just kind of does. And, he gets a phone call from his company and he's like, "Hey, how are things going there? I'm at home with my son, etc." And they're like, "Yeah, the stocks have dropped, a lot." And, Peter Peter, for some reason, is his reason for everything. He blames Peter for all of the things that have happened in his life, obviously because he was Green Goblin, and he kind of has a big part because of Spider-Man always foiling his dastardly deeds, if you will. And in that moment, he remembers that Peter is Spider-Man, and his first thought is to kill Peter. So he does try and go to his house, and he finds Gwen. And Peter, on his way back home, wanting to make sure that, he can have a conversation with Gwen because he hasn't talked to her in a while and stuff like that. They haven't actually had a heart-to-heart conversation about anything because he's just been spidering it up, And Peter finds Gwen's bag and a goblin bomb, the bag that he got her for Christmas. And he knows that the goblin took her. He obviously, right? But his spider sense takes him to the Brooklyn Bridge. He doesn't really know why, but then he spots Green Goblin. And Green Goblin, says, "Hey, unless you stop being Spider-Man, she's going to die." And he's like, "Not gonna happen, Gobby," with his normal quips or whatever that he has. And, up until this point, Peter has been sick. He hasn't been feeling well because in issue 120, he fought the Hulk. And wherever he was, he caught a flu from there. I think it's Canada. I'm not too sure. I didn't read that issue, but they kind of referenced it a few times here and there. But so he's not feeling well. He's not really feeling his best, his 100%ist of his Spider-Man antics and all that stuff. So when he fights Green Goblin to try and save Gwen Stacy's life, Green Goblin drops her. And Peter naturally, acts and tries to catch her. He hits Green Goblin as hard as he can, and then he proceeds to go after Gwen. He catches her with his web, as he normally would. And in doing so, she dies on the fall. At least in the comic. The way she dies is she dies just from the fall and not even from, him catching her. But I do kind of think that they are kind of hinting maybe that her neck snaps. I'm sure that's what happens. I think it's either her neck or her back. But either way, she dies. Peter grabs her. He doesn't realize at first. He grabs her, puts her on the ground, lays her down, and he's like, hey kid, wake up. I saved you. Are you all right? What's going on? Blah blah blah. Pretending that he doesn't know that she is, Gwen Stacy, because he obviously hasn't told her who he is. And in doing so, he realizes that she is dead, and that kind of culminates in the final words of issue 121, which is you've killed the woman that I love. I will do anything and everything I can to kill you next. And that's where 121 ends. 122 picks up and it kind of rephrases the same last quote because that's kind of what comics used to do and still kind of do sometimes. Um, and it, you get some really beautiful images, and I honestly kind of think they look better in their faded look than in their colored look. But either way, you get some very beautiful images of Peter reminiscing, about their love, Gwen and Peter, and it's just some beautiful stuff. Oh my God, it's really sad. Um, so he is immediately like, I'm going to whoop your ass. I'm not pulling my punches anymore. Like, this is it for you, bro. You're dead. And Green Goblin, unfortunately gets away in their fight. And Peter goes back down on the ground where he placed Gwen bring her back home. I don't know what his plan was. He kind of doesn't really say. Um, but there are tons of cops surrounding her. And Peter's like, oh no, I'm not having that. Like, I'm not going to have them poke and prod at her. Like, that's not happening. So he jumps down there, and one of the rookie cops is like, hey, I'm sure that you did this. This is your fault, isn't it, Peter? Spider-Man, not Peter. He doesn't say Peter. But he's like, this is your fault, isn't it? And, the other cop that's there is like, there's no way that this is his fault. Like, I see a man in pain. Like, this happened to him. He didn't do this. And then Peter kind of has a internal, like, imagery monologue thing in his head, and he realizes that his whole life the problem has been Spider-Man. It's not, the villains. It's been Spider-Man always getting in the way and always causing problems for his love life and his social life. And he says to that cop, he says, she is dead and Spider-Man killed her. And then they try and arrest him. He gets away. He goes to JJJ's Daily Bugle, and he talks to Robbie, and he's like, if you have any knowledge of where the Green Goblin is, please tell me, And JJ is like, I mean, not JJ, Robbie is like, I don't know if you should be here, man, but I will give you the information if you need, They're saying that you killed her, but I don't think you did, so here you go. And JJ pulls up, and he's like, oh, Gwen Stacy's dead, and he killed her. And Spider-Man is like, I didn't? Maybe you should, before you speak, maybe you should learn all the facts and stuff like that. And then Spider-Man runs off and goes to the warehouse, which Green Goblin is at. And so Green Goblin and Peter fight. And Peter destroys his Goblin glider, and he compares it to Gwen's death, and he's like, oh, this is terrible. I can't believe you did this. This is the most travesty, like, insane thing that's ever happened. This is horrible. And Peter's like, are you serious? You're comparing my girlfriend's death to your stupid little toy that you can make over and over? Like, this is stupid. Are you for real? And so they get into a hand-to-hand fight. Peter is just wailing on him, and he thinks, that he's going to kill him. And then he realizes, what the heck's wrong with me? Like, I'm not trying to kill him. I don't want to kill him. I'm going to be a murderer just like him. And then, while Peter's, realizing, like, oh my God, I almost killed him, the glider comes up, kind of like in the Sam Raimi movies, and tries to kill him. And boom, same thing happens. It stabs him in the back, or it's actually the chest. I think it's like right here. Stabs him right here, and he dies. And Peter's like, I can't believe, that he died in this way. I feel like his death should mean something. Him dying, I feel no different, and it really, really sucks. And he's like, I feel more alone than I did before, and it's just kind of crazy that he says that. But then he arrives at his house, and Mary Jane is there, wondering where he's been, and knowing that Gwen has died. And he's like, get out of here. Like, you wouldn't even care if your mom died, let alone Gwen. Like, you don't care about this at all. And she, is crying and in awe and about to leave the house. And then she realizes, like, Peter needs me. I need to be here for him. And then the book ends. And then all real men cry. But either way, that is this Spider-Man story. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.